Hello, my dear students. I welcome you all to my YouTube channel Ahmad Study Circle. In today's video, we are going to discuss some of the question answer of the chapter Long Walk to Freedom from your First Flight English book. First of all, we'll do those questions which are given in oral comprehension check. So let's see what is question number 1. Where did those ceremonies take place? Can you name any buildings in India that are made of sandstone? Here the first question says that where did the oath-taking ceremony of Nelson Mandela take place? And further question says that who are those buildings or what are those buildings in India that are made of sandstone? So let's see what is the answer. The ceremonies took place in the campus of the Union Building of Pretoria, the Parliament House, the Rashtrapati Bhavan and the Supreme Court of India in New Delhi, as well as the Madras High Court in Chennai are some examples of public buildings in India that are made of sandstones. Okay, let's see question number 2. Can you say how 10 May is an autumn day in South Africa? So first of all, before answering this question, I want to tell you that this phrase an autumn day means a very pleasant day, a very happy day or a very nice day. So now let's see the answer. 10th May is an autumn day in South Africa because on this day there was the largest gathering of international leaders on South African soil for the installation of South Africa's first democratic and non-racial government. We already know that a very bad system, a very bad political practice was going on in South Africa, which was called apartheid. So this time the apartheid system was abolished, and for the first time in South Africa, a first democratic and non-racial government was going to be installed. So that's why so many leaders from the foreign countries, from the different countries of this world, they were gathered there in South Africa to witness the installation of this democratic and non-racial government. So that's why this day, 10th of May, has been called an autumn day in the history of South Africa. So now let's see question number 3. At the beginning of his speech, whose speech? Mandela's speech. Mandela mentions an extraordinary human disaster. What does he mean by this? What is the glorious human achievements he speaks at the end of his speech? Let's see the answer of this question. By an extraordinary human disaster, Mandela meant to say that colored people, here colored people means the dark-skinned people, the black people. So the colored people have suffered immensely due to discrimination at the hands of whites. We already know that in South Africa there was a supremacy of the people who were white. But later, when Mandela struggled his life for that, so many of Mandela's friends, they went to the prison, they struggled, they fought for their independence. The supremacy of white, finally it was abolished, and this time they were forming a non-racial government. He considered it as a great glorious human achievement that a black person had become the president of the country where the blacks were not considered as human beings and were treated badly. When apartheid was in practice, the black people were not given freedom. They were not given the independence to do the things of their own, to eat what they want, to do businesses, and even to have participation in political parties. They were not allowed to do these certain things. Now let's see what is the question number 4. What does Mandela thank the international leaders for? The answer says Mandela felt privileged to be the host of the nations of the world because not too long ago the South Africans were considered outlaws. Here, outlaws means when the apartheid was in the practice in South Africa, most of the countries of the world, they have cut their ties, they have cut their relationship with South Africa. That's what here outlaws mean. He thus thanked all the international leaders for having come to witness his venture as president. Since this event could be considered as a common victory for justice, peace, and human dignity. So these were the certain things that Nelson Mandela thanked the international leaders for. Question number 5. What ideals does he set out for the future of South Africa? Mandela sets out the ideals of poverty alleviation and removal of suffering of people. He said that he will finally alleviate the number of people who are suffering or who are below poverty line. He will work for the betterment, for the development of poor people, and he will remove the suffering of the people. He also sets the ideal for a society where there would be no discrimination based on gender or racial origin or whatever their skin color. The rights of every people will be same. Question number 6 says, what do the military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? The highest military generals of the South Africa Defence Force and police saluted Mandela and pledged their loyalty. Their attitude towards blacks had taken over a great change. Instead of arresting a black, they had saluted him. In the story, we already know that Mandela says that if he would not have been the president of South Africa, those generals would not have saluted him, but instead they would have arrested him and have put him behind bars. Question number 7 says, why were two national anthems sung on the oath-taking ceremony of Nelson Mandela? The answer says, on the day of the inauguration, two national anthems were sung, one by the whites and the other by the blacks. This symbolized the equality of blacks and whites. Question number 8. How does Mandela describe the systems of government in his country in the first decade and in the final decade of the 20th century? So Mandela described the systems of government in his century. In the first decade of the 20th century, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land, thus creating the basis of one of the harshest and most inhuman societies that world had ever known. Nelson Mandela described the systems of government in his country in the final decade of the 20th century. The previous systems had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all people, regardless of the color of their skins. Question number 9 says, what does courage mean to Mandela? For example, here courage means sahas, himmat. And what does courage mean to Mandela? So Mandela says, courage does not mean the absence of fear. अगर आप बहादुर हैं तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप डरते नहीं हैं. This was actually said by Mandela. Courage does not mean the absence of fear, but victory over fear. हिम्मत, साहस का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप डरते नहीं. आप जिस चीज़ से डर रहे हैं उस चीज़ के ऊपर अगर आप सफलता हासिल कर लेते हैं, उस चीज़ के ऊपर आप जीत और विजय हासिल कर लेते हैं, उस चीज़ को करेज और हिम्मत कहा जाता है. According to him, brave men need not be fearless, but should be able to conquer fear. नेल्सन मंडेला के अकॉर्डिंग बहादुर लोगों को निडर होने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बल्कि जिन चीज़ों से उन्हें डर लगता है उन चीज़ों के ऊपर विजय हासिल करने की ज़रूरत है. Question number 10. Which does he think is natural, to love or to hate? According to Nelson Mandela, which one is more natural or which one is more easy, to love a person or to hate a person? For Mandela, love comes naturally to the human heart than hate. It means loving a person is easier than hating a person. Question number 11. What twin obligations does Mandela mention? Twin obligation means a person's having two obligations, two duties. So Mandela mentions that every man has twin obligation. The first is to his family, parents, wife, and children. The second obligation, the second duty, is to his people, his community, and his country. Question number 12. What did being free mean to Mandela as a boy and as a student? How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedoms? Here, transitory freedoms means a freedom which is temporary, right? So, like any other boy, freedom for Mandela meant making merry and enjoying a blissful life. He was free to run near his fields in his mother's hut or swim in the clear stream that ran through his village. His sense of freedom was limited to his own enjoyment. As long as he obeyed his father and abided by the customs of his tribe, his freedom wasn't restricted by the laws of man or God. Gradually, he learned that his boyhood freedom was an illusion. Once a person becomes an adult, then antics of childhood look transitory because most of the childish activity is wasteful from an adult's perspective. As an adult, he wanted freedom only for himself. The transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what he pleased, and go where he chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, he yearned for the basic and honorable freedom of achieving his potential, earning his keep, and of marrying and having a family. Earning honest livelihood for the daily bread gets an honorable existence in the family and in the society. So these were the things that Nelson Mandela could not do as a grown up man, and that's when the hunger of freedom it just rised so much in Nelson Mandela's mind. The question number 13, which is the last one from the oral comprehension check. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why or why not? Here, oppressor means a person who oppress someone. ऑपरेशर का मतलब एक ऐसा इंसान जो किसी के ऊपर अपने धाक जमाता हो, किसी दूसरे को दबा करके उसे कुचल करके रखता हो, उसे डरा और धमका करके रखता हो. तो क्या ऑपरेशर भी आज़ाद होता है? ऑप्रेस्ड जो होता है, जिसके ऊपर ये सारे जुल्म किए जाते हैं, वो तो ऑब्वियसली आज़ाद नहीं है. लेकिन क्या ऑपरेसर आज़ाद है? Mandela does not feel that the oppressor is free because according to him, an oppressor is a prisoner of hatred. Mandela के अकॉर्डिंग जो जुल्म करने वाला, जो जालिम होता है, वो भी फ्री नहीं है, वो भी आज़ाद नहीं है, क्योंकि उनके हिसाब से एक जो ऑपरेशर होता है, एक जो जालिम और जुल्म करने वाला होता है, वो नफ़रत का शिकार होता है, वो नफ़रत का कैदी होता है. Who is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. He feels that both the oppressor and the oppressed are robbed of their humanity. Mandela के अकॉर्डिंग दोनों आज़ाद नहीं, जुल्म करने वाला और जिसके ऊपर जुल्म हो रहा है. ओके, तो हम लोग ओरल कॉम्प्रिहेंशन चेक को ऑलरेडी कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं. अगर आपको लगता है कि ये जो क्वेश्चन आंसर हैं आपके लिए बेनिफिशियल हैं, आपको अच्छा लग रहे हैं, तो आप लोग मुझे नीचे कमेंट सेक्शन में ज़रूर बताइएगा. मैं ये वाला जो आपके स्क्रीन पर दिख रहा है थिंकिंग अबाउट द टेक्स्ट, मैं इनको भी करा दूंगा. और इनके बाद कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं जो कि यहाँ एडिशनल क्वेश्चन आंसर के तौर पर दिए गए हैं. यहाँ पर ये एडिशनल क्वेश्चंस जो कि एक्सट्रैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस हैं, फिर कुछ शॉर्ट क्वेश्चन आंसर हैं और फिर कुछ लॉन्ग क्वेश्चन आंसर्स हैं, इनको भी मैं करा दूंगा अगर आप डिमांड करते हैं, अगर आप कमेंट सेक्शन में मुझे ये बताते हैं. तो मिलते हैं हम लोग नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए टेक केयर, बाय बाय.